have been fine. The Lord has taken care of me, and I thank God because this far it has taken His hand. Thank you guys for following us, for subscribing to our channel. We have so many new subscribers, and we really thank you. We appreciate you. To the returning subscribers, we always tell you, you are the reason. You are the reason we sit down and shoot these videos, because you motivate us, you make us to do it every day, because you are there non-stop to watch us. We appreciate that, and may the Lord bless you. May the Lord enlarge you. May the Lord be with you. We really appreciate. Guys, today is yet another day. And today, we are going to talk about favor. You know, guys, there are people in life that God really gives favor. And however much we try to stop these people, however much we hate on them, however much we talk negative about them, they keep on going higher and higher and higher. You know, I'm marveled at the way God can just bless someone and he cannot be stopped. When he plans, when he purposes to bless somebody, he is unstoppable. He cannot be shaken by the amount of hate that are put on that person, by the amount of lies that are talked about that person, by the amount of gossips that are done on that person. What am I talking about today, guys? I'm talking about DEE MWANGO. The other day, I was watching her videos, and I came across yesterday's video. She was talking about Port Royal. I think it's called Port Royal. And this is where they had gone with Kino and Esther. And when they were passing, actually they said they were passing. They had not purposed to stop there. But they found that there is a ship, a very huge ship, that had come all the way from Peru, and it was riding at Port Royal. And therefore they decided to stop and see the ship, because it was actually a good thing. It's not every day that you see these huge ships. And therefore they decided to stop over and see the ship. And guys, what I am talking about now is what I saw, and the favor of God upon this woman. The hand of God is actually upon this woman, and the favor is following her wherever she goes. Do you remember, guys, even before I narrate the story of the ship and what made me to shoot this video, DEE MWANGO entered Jamaica without knowing anyone. Actually, she said that. And when she went to Jamaica, by coincidence, she found Christmas trees. And Christmas trees connected her to Kino. Can you see that connection? It is divine connection. And therefore, when she entered Port Royal to see the ship, and they were with Kino and Esther, she meets these police officers. I don't know whether they were Navy or police officers, but they were in uniform, and the uniform was written the country to which they belong. What perplexed me and astonished me, and all the vocabularies I can say, is that when DEE MWANGO started talking to these Navy people or the police officers, I'm not sure who they were so open with her. Actually, one of the ladies, she said she was from where? Can I remember the country? I can't remember the country. The uniform was written the country to where she has come from. She was too ready to explain to Dee about the ship. And she actually went ahead and told her why she was in Jamaica. And then there was this gentleman who was actually so ready to speak to her, telling her where he comes from, telling her everything about the ship. Do you see? It is not every day we meet people that are willing to help us, that are willing to give us information, that are willing to open up, to assist us in any way. By the way, I got a shock when the same Navy men started now talking to her, all of them, and they started inviting her in their ride. Actually, she told them, my next place will be to Trinidad. Trinidad, because one of the, I hope I'm pronouncing it well, because one of the Navy or the police officer was from Trinidad. And therefore, she said, I invite you to come to our country. And actually the gentleman asked her for the call so that when she arrives in their country, to contact him. Do you see how God connects people? In a very miraculous way. In a very way we cannot understand us as human beings. We can try to talk bad about someone. We can try to destroy their names. We can try to say how bad they are and how crooked they are and what we think about them. But when God says yes, no one can say no. When God opens a door, no one can shut. When God says it's your time, no one can hinder it. And this is what I saw. A great favor. People you don't know, people you have never met. And they are so ready to help you. They are so ready to host you in their country. They are so ready to explain to you about everything. Now, she later went and found Kino talking with this old man. And actually, she also started talking to the man. And initially, she had told us, Port Royal is referred to as the weakest. I don't know whether that is the right word. The most weekend city in those days. And she was trying to ask this old man, why is this city called the most weekend city in the whole world? And the man was explaining to her the business that was going on in Port Royal that made the city to be called weekend. And actually I got interested to know why was this city called the most weekend city in the whole world. And actually it is called it was the most richest city and the most weekend city in the whole world. Why was this so? And I came to realize there were some pirates that were coming from outside and they were going to root what are they called? Goods. To root goods in Spanish, very expensive goods in Spanish, and they were bringing them to Port Royal. So there was a lot of business, and actually this man told DEE MWANGO there was a lot of business that was going on in Port Royal, and that is why it was so rich. So I came to find out that Port Royal was rich because there were these pirates, and one of them was called Sir Henry, who could come from, who could smuggle goods from Spanish and bring it to Port Royal, and those goods included sugar, gold, and so many commodities that were being traded in Port Royal. The other trade that was going on in Port Royal was slave trade. Slaves were being sold there in Port Royal. And I tell you guys, I got a shock. Actually, I got amused because it was saying that a gun could be shot and the sound of the gun indicates that the business has started. And people could come and carry out business, and therefore the port had grown. There were so many houses, there was a church. It was a lot of activities going on in Port Royal. And this made the port to be so rich. And where there is money, if you are not careful, all the crimes come there. There was smuggling, there was corruption, there was prostitution, because when I was looking at it, there were a lot of brothels in Port Royal. There were a lot of pubs, drinking places. So there was a lot of drinking of alcohol, there was a lot of prostitution, and there was a lot of corruption. And that is why it was called the most weekend city in the whole world. And it is obvious when we look at where we are in our country, Kenya, you'll find that in Mombasa, where there is a lot of trade, and even in Nairobi, some parts, where there is a lot of money flowing, a lot of business taking place, and actually even along the borders where there is these trucks that transport goods, a lot of activities happen there. And there is always a lot of prostitution, a lot of drinking, a lot of those things that happen. And therefore, because of this, the Catholic Church are actually the ones who called Port Royal the most wicked city in the whole world. I had mentioned earlier, there was a lot of trade going on in Port Royal. Sugar was being sold, slaves were being sold, and a lot of activities was taking place in Port Royal. And therefore, with the money flowing, going, it was bound to encourage a lot of activities to take place in Port Royal. And that is why we see there were many brothels, because I'm sure the traders, the pirates, could come all the way from their country and host, or rather, spend some days in Port Royal. And these days they were spending, most of them were men. And therefore they needed women, of course, to feel good, because they have money, they have everything. Because we are told the money is the source of all evil sometimes, if it's not well taken care of. And therefore, because of that, there were so many brothels in Port Royal, there were so many pubs where these people could come and drink, and there was a lot of activities going on. There was also gambling. Because remember that these people are idle, as they sell their goods in the evening, they are idle. So there was a lot of gambling taking place in Port Royal. And that is why the Catholic Church actually came up and called the city the most wicked city. So we see DEE MWANGO actually being explained by this man about why this city was called the wicked city. Can you see the connection? God connects her. Actually, before she arrived to this man, she was wondering, why was Port Royal called the most wicked city in the whole world? And when she found this man, she actually asked him, and he was so ready to explain to her, and she hugged her. She was so welcoming, especially when he heard that DEE MWANGO is from Africa, Kenya. He was so happy, so willing to explain to her about Port Royal. So you can see the favor that this woman gets wherever she goes. We have seen her moving from one country to the other, and when she goes to those countries, there is always someone to host her. The other day we found her being hosted by Black Forest. And there are so many people in her channel, they tell her, when you come to US, we are going to host you. When you come to Germany, we are going to host you. When you come to UK, we are going... You see that favor? It's not just favor from human beings. It is favor from above. And that is why I said, you can try to stop somebody who is favored, you can try to gossip about them, you can try to hate on them, but when the hand of God is upon them, you cannot stop them. These people are unstoppable. And the other day, I shot a video to explain why the hand of God is upon those people that have certain characteristics in them. You can go back and watch that video. So, to continue with the history of Port Royal, so that is the reason it was called the most wicked city. And I learned that, do you know, some things happen and you wonder, why did they happen? Because later, the city of Port Royal got an earthquake. And it is said that that earthquake was bad, because it destroyed a lot of properties in Port Royal. And followed by earthquake was tsunami. And the tsunami and the earthquake completely destroyed even the church that was there, even the people, many people got killed. And therefore, I think that was the end of Port Royal. And if you're from Jamaica, maybe you can tell us, did it rise again after that destruction by the tsunami and by the earthquake? So it was just actually destroyed. And in the Bible we read about Sodom and Gomorrah. When God was too annoyed by the evils that were taking place in Sodom and Gomorrah, he actually sent, is it fire? And the whole lot of Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. So I could look at Port Royal, the way the earthquake came, followed by tsunami, and the whole city was destroyed. I don't know whether it came to rise again. Then I learned that from DEE MWANGO, actually she went to a church that was just there, which was built after the first church was destroyed by the earthquake. And this church was being called what? Can you remind me? St. Peter Anglican Church. So there in Port Royal, and I was wishing, hey, this history is too much, guys. I wish I was there in Jamaica, the land of love, the land of a great land indeed. So I was looking at DEE MWANGO telling us this church that was there before was later built, I think in 1962, and it was called St. Peter England Church. It is actually there in Port Royal, and she was actually showing us. I'm telling you, we have even arrived in Jamaica before we arrived. We have seen Port Royal, we have seen St. Peter's Church, England, we have seen Trenchtown, we have seen Kingstown, and a lot of things that we have seen through these women. Remember that this is the woman who made us to know that there is a country. We knew Jamaica, but we knew very little about Jamaica. She was actually an eye-opener to us. Can you see what Viva does? It takes someone to a country, and that person gets favor with the people of that country, and we get to know, so many of us get to learn so much about Jamaica. We wouldn't have known Jamaica and a lot of history of Jamaica, and I realized, guys, in Jamaica, there is the talking walls. What do I mean? The talking walls. Everything there is history, there is painting and a lot of artwork. I saw it in Port Royal, and DEE MWANGO was explaining, the artwork on the wall was explaining the things that were being done in Port Royal, the wickedness of Port Royal. It is painted there. I wonder what it is painted, because she never explained. But she was saying the paintings are demonstrating what was happening in Port Royal. I also saw the paintings in Trenchtown of great art of Jamaica, great legendary of the people who are there and did great work in Jamaica. Their artwork is there, drawn well, and there is a lot of painting in Jamaica. Actually, the King's Kitchen is also painted so well. So I think Jamaicans really love talking through art. They tell us a lot through art. We don't see that in Kenya so much, but I have seen it in Jamaica a lot. Talking walls. Walls that are telling us what had happened. And there is also the talking what? What are they called? Statues. Although here in Kenya in town there is the statues of great people like Kimathi, Jomo Kenyatta, we see those portraits. But I saw Jamaica, they are very, very interested in artwork and doing artwork to show people what happened some years ago, and we love that. So what can we say? We can say that when God favors you, when God, the hand of God is upon you, when God chooses you, I tell you, you cannot be stopped. You cannot be thwarted. And that is why maybe we are told the plans of God cannot be thwarted. When God points his finger upon you, when the favor of God is upon you, no one can stop you. People have tried to do a lot of things about this woman called DEE MWANGO. They have tried to even say that she has scammed people, she's going to be put to jail. They have come to tell us so dirty things about her. They have come to gossip her, bring her down, demean her, talk about her. But God has always been with her. And that is why we see everywhere she goes. Even the Jamaican master, the one that was being talked to the other day, that guy had stayed there with no one to offer to clean him, with no one to offer to talk to him, with no one to give him love. But when DEE MWANGO reached there, he showed this guy love by cleaning even his dreads. Can you see? That is why the favor of God would be upon such a person. She's so willing to help. Wherever she goes and finds a problem, she's ready to help. And that is why the favor of God is upon her. Actually, I've never seen somebody who is accepted so much. Actually, people can fight for her. Do you know? I've seen that people can stand with her until they are ready to actually fight for her. Do you know that is very great favor? Rarely do we see people are fighting for someone, unless politicians, because when there are political rallies and political differences, we see people fighting. And we have seen people really standing with DEE MWANGO, and they don't want her to be touched. They don't want her to be talked to badly, because she has proved worth. She has proved that she has the character that people love, the character that people accept, the character that pulls people to her. And this is called favor. When you are favored, you can go anywhere. You can be accepted by anyone. You keep on going higher and higher, and no one can stop you. Nothing can stop you. There will be ups and downs, but you overcome them so easily. The other day I heard her saying, traveling as a female and alone is not easy. And I tell you it's not easy, because when I could see DEE MWANGO traveling from one country to the other, and she tells us she's lonely, she's actually alone, I could actually put myself there, and I could actually feel, this woman is courageous. This woman is very, very courageous and very, very daring. And that is why it's not good to joke with a person when you have not tried what they are doing. You don't know what it means. And actually she said that, to travel around those countries, what it means to go from one country to the other, and you are all alone, and you are a young woman. It takes courage. It takes the presence of God to walk with you, so that you can cross from one country to the other, and you are safe, and you have people who are ready to host you, who are ready to accommodate you, who are ready to talk to you, who are ready to give you information. It's not just coming out of the house and walking. You really need the favor of God. And this is what I've seen with DEE MWANGO. Guys, thank you so much for keeping on listening to us, for keeping on supporting to us, for subscribing to our channel, for commenting, liking. Continue doing so, and share our videos to spread love and positivity. One love. God bless.